That's our subtle clue that the meeting has started. First, we'd like to offer our recognition that the land on which we gather today is traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Attawandarock and Mississauga people, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many Indigenous peoples made up of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. The Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement should remind us all of our responsibility to ensure the territories on which we live and work is never empty, and that we take care of the land and its inhabitants in a way that ensures a future of sustainability. So this meeting is called to order. We are here to address the applications that have been submitted for this for March 19th this March 19th hearing. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Right.
Sorry.
No, we're good. So the withdrawal and adjournment items? Oh yeah, I have to read this in as well. So welcome to the hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of St. Catharines. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. There are two major types of applications. One, applications for consent and severance, where we divide up properties. Two, applications for minor variances to municipal bylaw requirements. Evidence may be required to be given under oath if deemed necessary. Please address your comments and questions through the chair, me this evening. Additionally, please maintain respect while communicating with the committee, staff, and other meeting participants to ensure smooth and orderly discussion. Copies of all decisions will be made to the applicant and to any other person who appeared before the committee or filed a written request to receive a notice of decision. Pursuant to the More Homes Built Faster Act and in the matter of consent applications, the applicant, the minister, or a specified person or public body that has an interest in the matter has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of the consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the mailing of the decision. Minor variance decisions may also be appealed. However, they must be made within 20 days of the making of the decision tonight, and the cost of an appeal is still $400. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are a few. The order of the agenda has been modified as requested to move a file for 47 North Glen Avenue further down the agenda. Comments were received this afternoon for 31 Main Street. If the chair would like me to read them out, I could. I'm not sure if the committee members have already seen them. The request for a minor change of conditions for 412 Niagara Street will be for only application B2723 SC, as the application for B2923 SC is for an easement for eaves and gutters. And the owner of 44 Locke Street advised that he is unable to attend the meeting to be present for the request for deferral.
Thank you. May we have a motion from a committee member to approve the agenda? Thank you, David, and welcome back. May we have a motion? May we have a motion to adopt the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you, Carrie. Declaration. Does any member in this panel have a conflict of interest in any of the applications being considered at this hearing or previous hearing if they were not in attendance? This is where you nod no or you say that you do. Okay, did you want to turn on your mic, explain the conflict in which file?
I had a conflict at the last meeting for Fifth Avenue, and I had a previous working relationship with the applicant.
Thanks so much. And no one else is declaring any conflict of interest. Great, thank you so much. Requests for withdrawals or adjournment?
A request from the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority and the City of St. Catharines planning staff was received to defer the application until such time that a geotechnical report is received for review and that the site plan is revised to show an envelope of silt fencing along the lot lines of the address. Mr. Stankovic, the owner, advised that he was unable to attend this presently for the hearing.
So normally we invite the applicant to come down and comment on the proposed deferral. In this case, they're not here. So would a committee member, if they have any questions of staff, we can ask them if they require any clarifications. Otherwise, a motion, please. Tom?
Just out of curiosity, was there a time period in mind for the deferral?
Until the geotech report and the site plan is revised and submitted, I don't know, 3 months?
Through the chair, my understanding of deferrals is that the amount of time you give is sort of an extent, and they can come back anytime sooner. Since we don't really have anyone here with the expertise on how long something like that would take, I would recommend erring on the side of longer. It doesn't mean they have to wait that long. If you gave them 6 months, 8 months, it doesn't mean you expect it will take that long, but it saves them from coming back and having to push it
6 months
sooner.
sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
I move that application A425 be deferred for up to 6 months.
All those in favor of the motion? Great. So that application will be heard at such time as that additional information can be provided and brought to us. And the request for minor change of condition?
The request for a minor change of condition was requested by Development Engineering for a change of conditions to add the 2 road widening conditions to the notices of decision for B2723SC. I'm not sure if the applicant or owner is present.
For 412 Niagara Street, is the applicant or owner here to speak to that application? Is there anybody here to speak against the application? Okay, thank you.
It's to add 2 conditions to the notice of decision. Parts of the condition was included in the decision, just not the reference to it.
To the committee members, is there any clarification required to put a motion? If not, a motion, please.
Yeah, I'll put forward a motion. I just had a quick clarification through you to staff. Just to make sure I read it correctly, the conditions were already kind of shown on the site plan. They just weren't included in the list when we made the motion originally?
Through the chair to Committee of Adjustment member, that's correct. The road widening is shown on the site plan as parts 3 and 4. The memo from Development Engineering was also outlining the road windings in their comments, but the condition was not in the list of conditions. Therefore, it was missed in the report.
You were right.
Yeah, I just need to read them in properly. So can we reference the technical report from today, or do I need to read these conditions out verbatim?
I guess we're referencing the revision to the notice of decision.
The technical report outlines the 2 conditions that are to be added, and please make note that this is a minor request for a change of conditions. That has to be, if you could put that in the motion, otherwise it has to be recirculated.
For consent application B2723SC and B2923SC, I move for a minor change of conditions as outlined in the technical report dated March 14th, 2025, presented by staff.
Sounds fine to me.
Just, we don't need 29, B29, just B27. I know it says it in the report, but it's only for B27, just because B29 is only for easements.
Right. The motion refers to B2723 only.
Thank you.
And it's minor, right? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Great, that motion's been passed unanimously. which brings us to our regularly scheduled, or our agenda items, which this evening we're starting at 47 North Glen Avenue. We're not starting at 47 North Glen. Well, I have a 1 in front of it. I knew that's what it was. Okay. 88 Martindale. Come on down. So the applicant and/or representative will take a seat at this end of the horseshoe. Microphone, there's hopefully an obvious on button for you. You'll state your name and address and share any additional comments you have regarding your application, knowing that we've already read it.
Perfect. My name is Brendan Graham from Landex Developments. I'm the authorized agent on behalf of the owner of 88 Martindale. My address is 1235 Fairview Street in the city of Burlington. Just very quickly, I just wanted to thank staff for all of their efforts in working to bring forward these applications to the committee for consideration. We are fully supportive of their recommendations and the findings of their technical report, and we request that the committee consider the approval of the proposed applications, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. So this is a consent, 2 consent applications with associated minor variances. City has recommended in their report a whole boatload of conditions to accompany approval, their recommended approval of the consents, and they have recommended approval in their report of the associated minor variances. So are there any questions from the committee members of the applicant and/or staff? Is there anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to this application at 88 Martindale Road? We'll go back to the committee for a motion, please.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentation, I move the consent applications B24 and 25 SC and variance application A76, 77, and 78, 24, as presented in the notice of hearing, be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in the technical report. As the consents are desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, have no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, have regard to the provisions of Section 5124 of the Planning Act, conform with the policies of the city's official plan, and with conditions fulfilled will also comply with the zoning bylaw, maintain the intent and purpose of the provincial planning statement, and do not conflict with any applicable provincial plans, and the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion? Okay, to the applicant, your application's been approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
93 Jacobson Avenue is next on our list for a minor variance request.
Chair,
Yes?
can we have a few minutes to read this latest submission because we just got it?
We'll see how you do while we get started.
That's a clear answer.
Hello and welcome. Who you are, where you live or work, and any additional comments you have with respect to your application, please. And we assume that you've had an opportunity to see the staff report. We assume you've had an opportunity to read the staff report? Okay, great. The red light will come on when we hit the right button, and the button is so obvious.
Got it. Thank you. My name is Michael Mazzolino. I'm a resident in St. Catharines and a property owner. My application was to build an accessory dwelling unit in the backyard of a house in the south end of St. Catharines. The building permit was approved, as you'll see in the notes that I provided. And then based on interpretation of the building code, it was altered and recommended that I apply for a minor variance to make the fact that it's 10% by interpretation larger than it's supposed to be, reviewed and hopefully accepted.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah. So this application, for those in the gallery, was to, a proposal to support a detached accessory dwelling unit. And the building exceeded the maximum floor area of accessory dwelling unit by 8.6 square meters. And the staff report that the applicant has been aware of, staff recommends denial. Are there any questions that members of the committee have of the applicant or clarifications from staff?
Through you to planning, page 3 of the technical report. I'm seeking a clarification as to the meaning of the paragraph, or part of the paragraph that begins with the word however. However, the ADU housing type is not intended to be in all. I'm just not comprehending the purpose of that particular sentence, or sentence, yeah, right up until neighborhoods. Thank you.
Through the chair to the committee member, the purpose of the discussion enclosed in that paragraph is to indicate, while the policies in the official plan encourage a wide range of housing options and types for wide-ranging needs of the city to accommodate growth, one type cannot accommodate all the different needs of housing. We have detached dwellings, we have apartment buildings, semi-detached. They all form, rooming and boarding houses, they all form part of the housing stock and housing continuum in the city. And ADUs serve only one of those types.
As in, this may not be the appropriate solution. This property may not be able to accommodate this as an appropriate solution. Is that sort of?
Through the chair, I'll just add to that, that typically the requests to increase the size of an accessory dwelling unit might be to accommodate more space, more bedrooms, a larger unit. And so part of the purpose of that sentence is to indicate that not every size of unit, not every capacity of dwelling is meant to be contained in an ADU. There is a size cap for a reason. So smaller units are expected to be served by them. So it's not necessarily intended to serve, fit every type of, serve every need in housing. It's really these smaller units that they're meant to be providing in neighborhoods.
Is it fair to say that what that paragraph is really saying is that this feels like there's two principal residences being
Yeah.
applied for?
I feel you can proceed that way. Any other questions from any other members of the committee?
So as I have come to believe, there was an interpretation as to the size. There was an application for a building permit. It was approved, and then at some point, the size was revisited, and it was determined that it was larger than the bylaw provision. Is that how it went?
Correct.
Okay, and then there's some discussion somewhere in a submission with respect to what is included in the square footage determination and what is not. Could somebody, through you to planning, highlight what the approved, because we've got an interpretation by the designer that is stating the mechanical room and some stairways and corridors should not be included. And then obviously there's been an interpretation by the city of something contrary to that.
I think that this is a defined term, so there should be no ambiguity. But does planning staff have a response to how building area is determined in this case?
Through the chair to the committee member, or to the chair, everything within the interior wall of the exterior walls, interior surface of the exterior walls, inward. Now, there's a bit of a different story when you're talking about interior ADUs, because a mechanical room might serve more than one unit, but in circumstances such as a detached ADU, when it solely serves the ADU, it is included.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from members of the committee before we ask anybody in the gallery?
To the planner, in a piece of documentation that we received from Mr. Davies, the designer, he makes reference to the primary dwelling unit of 1,730 square feet. And he's using that number to suggest that the 960 square feet would be considerably less. But when I looked at that building, my presumption would be it'd be more in the neighborhood of 1,000 square foot building. Would I be correct?
Through the chair to the committee member, I apologize, I'm not understanding your question. Are you speaking to the principal building on the lot or
Yes,
the
principal
accessory
building,
dwelling?
The principal building. Might include the basement. I'm assuming the calculation for the square foot that the designer has used at 1,730 square feet would also include the basement, which typically is not included, correct?
Are you referencing the measurement for the accessory dwelling?
No, for the principal dwelling.
Through the chair to the committee member, that was not reviewed as part of this application. We simply reviewed the detached ADU.
So in some cases, there's a lot coverage calculation, in which case the principal dwelling would be used as part of that, but this is specifically a maximum size for a detached ADU.
I get that. The question I'm trying to get at here is the technical report speaks to the fact that they're of almost equivalent size, despite the fact that the designer says the existing primary dwelling is 1,730 square feet. My observation of that house would suggest that it isn't, unless it's including the basement. And my question is, would it typically exclude the basement?
And the answer is?
Through the chair to the committee member, I guess I would reframe it to say that the evaluation, when we say that at this size it's considered a principal dwelling, is not with reference to what is existing on the lot in terms of floor area, but is with reference to the parameters in which treat ADUs as different than a principal dwelling purely because of its size. So to exceed that size is to put it in a category to be considered a principal dwelling.
Yeah, the relative scale, the intent of the relative scale between a principal dwelling and ADU is not being maintained here, and the suggestion is it's being the extra 8 point whatever square meters being asked for is throwing it off. Yes.
I think what he was trying to drive home was the idea that subordination. I think he was using that
Yes.
1730.
Yeah.
But I have the same
It's
issue.
understood.
Just some of the things we ask are for our clarification and edification, right? So
Yep. Are you clear?
that was one of them.
We understand that. Anybody in the gallery wish to speak to this application for 93 Jacobson Avenue? Don't be shy. Okay. If there is no, well, does the applicant wish to respond to anything that they heard during the discussion? With the microphone on?
So just speaking to two principal residents, in contrasting the two houses, when we talk about the main floor of each unit, the accessory dwelling unit has one bedroom on the main floor compared to the existing home, which has 3 bedrooms on the main floor.
Yes, as a specific layout, that may be correct, but it's the relative comparative scale that that the city is referring to, not the practical layout. So, thank you. So at this point, I'm going to ask the committee if they want to put a motion on the table. If you're anything more you wish to add, applicant?
No, I don't think there's anything else to say. I've composed most of that in the notes that I've sent over. In short, I think it's been reviewed and re-reviewed, and it was deemed to be consistent and allowable. And of course, then due to a potential conflict in interpretation, it appears to be off by about 10%, which I believe is reasonable. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks so much. And if you could just finally turn that microphone off, please. Thank you. All right. So if there's any more discussion required, we can do that amongst ourselves.
I just have one further question, and then we can move to a motion. In the applicant's latest submission that we just received, it says the building permit has been reviewed and approved. The applicant may go ahead and construct the ADU in question. The purpose for this hearing is only to ensure grant funding will be available. How can this be built if it doesn't conform with the bylaw in terms of size? Is that statement correct?
Through the chair, I'm actually not sure about that question because the understanding from what I've read here is that there may have been a change in interpretation. I'm not sure about what the validity of the building permit is, if there were changes or what the extent were. The grant funding they're referring to is that if it doesn't meet the ADU size, it's not eligible for the ADU grant. But I'm just not sure about the answer to your question.
Me either. Okay, so is it the way I asked it, or?
Well, but either way, this is a zoning bylaw for a minimum lot, or for lot coverage, or the size of the dwelling unit. So that's not really instrumental in our decision. That clarification is not really required for us to make a decision. But you're curious.
That's
You agree?
your belief?
Oh, well, I'm not trying to convince you.
Thank you.
All right, if you have a motion, please, from somebody.
Sorry, Greg, may I?
Maybe not the new guy yet.
May I?
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to state that was word for word in an email that I have here from Scott Ritchie. Verbatim.
David, were you poised?
Yep. Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A1825 as presented in the notice of hearing be denied, as the variances are not minor in nature, nor are they appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, nor in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
So the motion has been read in support of the staff report for denial. So all those in favor of the motion for denial, show of hands. All those opposed? So your application has been approved, just not unanimous? I'm sorry.
It has to be the majority of applications,
we had
majority of, no, but the motion was to deny, and the denial was turned down. So we have to put another
Right.
motion in.
Right.
In a positive, and then revote.
Okay, this is all
Sorry,
it's working in your favor. So the motion did not carry, read in in support of staff report. Now we have to reread it.
Here we go. I move, following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A1825, as presented in the notice of hearing, be approved, as the variance, singular, is minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and is in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
All in favor of the motion to approve the application? All those opposed? No surprise there. So your application's been approved. So congratulations. There's a procedural requirement that we have to do what we just did.
Because I think
Thank you for bearing with us.
there was one.
Okay, next application on our agenda is for 33 Sea Park Drive. Would the applicant please come down and join us for 33 Sea Park Drive? This is to facilitate the construction of a proposed 12-unit light industrial building. The variance, there are 2 minor variances. Name, some kind of address, and anything you wish to add to the conversation with the microphone on. No, come on, down bot, there you go.
Perfect, thank you. Greg Chu, 82 Lake Street, St. Catharines, applicant for 33 Sea Park minor variance. First, I'd like to thank staff and the committee for hearing our minor variance application and putting together a staff report that, by and large, we agree with. I only have one minor comment to make for consideration, and that was related to staff's recommendation within the application approval to increase the landscaping at the rear of the property. So through the site plan application process, we had agreed to increase the landscaping and intensify the landscaping along the front of the property to offset the minor variance request of decreasing the required 3-meter to 1-meter buffer on the side lot line. We also added some islands and placed some trees there, again, to enhance the landscaping buffer along the side of the lot line. The hesitancy to increase or to enhance the landscaping at the rear of the property was more of a functional approach to this design, and more so allowing for in the need where we had a lot of snow like we had this winter, and which we've had in previous winters. We've kind of left that area to be sod in the event that we do need to use it for some snow load.
Well, the good news is that there's no condition associated with their approval of your application as it is. So they haven't specifically tied what you're addressing right now to this approval. So I think
Great.
you're all right.
I think we're good.
I
Okay.
mean, if you want to
that
keep on
was my-
talking, we'll listen. But
No,
if
that
you're
was,
done-
I'm sure you have better things to do, listen to me
All
right
right,
along,
if you
but that,
If you could
that's
turn your
it in
mic
a
off,
nutshell.
please, thank you. Any questions of the members of the committee to the applicant? Anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to 33 Sea Park Drive? So this is a minor variance, 2 minor variance applications. Staff would recommend approval. The applicant understands that. Is there a committee member who wishes to make a motion? Tom?
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A1225, as presented in the notice of hearing, be approved as recommended in the technical report, as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Your application's been approved, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, now we find ourselves at 82 Oliver Lane, which is the queue for the applicant and or agent to come down and sit here to talk about 82 Oliver Lane. This is a consent application. The staff has a number of conditions associated with their recommendation for approval of the consents. This is proposed construction of a semi-detached dwelling. You did it, great, first shot.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jared Marcus. I'm here from Arcadis, representing the owners of the property. We've read the staff report. We acknowledge staff recommend approvals subject to conditions. No concerns from our end regarding the conditions. I had brought some slides. I'd just like to be prepared in case there's a reason, but I don't see reason tonight. So I'll just say if there's any questions from the committee, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
If the conversation deteriorates to the point where you think you need to pull out those slides, you'll have that opportunity. Any questions from the members of the committee to the applicant? Anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to 82 Oliver Lane? Consent application? Nope, great. Motion?
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that consent applications B 0325 SC and B 0225 SC as presented in the notice of hearing be approved as the consents are desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, have no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, have regard for section 5124 of the Planning Act, conform with the policies of the city's official plan and zoning bylaw, maintain the intent and purpose of the provincial planning statement, and do not conflict with any applicable provincial plans.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion?
You didn't include, can you include the conditions?
Just the conditions outlined in the staff report recommendation. Yeah? Yeah, all right, great. You happy? All right. All those in favor of the motion? Everybody, or anybody who's not in favor? Okay, great. Your application's been approved unanimously, thank you. The one I've been waiting for all day, I guess, has been 47 North Glen Avenue, which was number 1, but we moved it down for some reason that was explained earlier. This is a minor variance applications as amended to allow for an existing driveway extension, which you can see on your screen. There are 2 minor variances. One minor variance for a maximum driveway width of 50% of the building width. The second, and this application is 76.2% the width, and a maximum parking coverage of 50% of the front yard. The proposed drawing indicates that the driveway coverage is in fact 55.8%. So if you could let us know who you are, give us an address, and contribute please to the conversation.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair. Peter Yanowski, 325 Welland Avenue. I am agent for the applicant, who is not here yet. They are underway. If it is possible, their preference was to be here present for it. I leave it up to the chair's hand if he wants to go on to another.
Well, you're representing the application. Are you briefed well enough to continue?
Yes, it's just.
Then please.
Okay. So in that regard, we did receive the staff report. Thank you for that. It articulated the city's opposition to the application. My understanding after reviewing it is that there's many points, or the main salient point being that it changes the streetscape and the nature of the neighborhood. In response to that, we've provided pictures of many of the neighbors, and we'd like to point out that, in fact, this is the standard, not the exception to the rule. The neighboring properties on both sides, their driveways are equally at width. In fact, the property where you can see the car backed in, that driveway is even further, even wider.
May I just interject to propose that if you're going to proceed with those examples, it's going to kind of reinforce the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, because if everyone is doing this, legally or not, it takes away from the green space in the front of a property and adds to a solid surface. And if everyone does it down the street, we get a less pleasing environment. So, so you can say whatever you want, but the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is not to have a driveway dominate the front yard for the convenience of people to park cars side by side as opposed to tandem. And there is no precedent. There is the zoning bylaw as it occurs today, as it relates to a new construction built during that zoning bylaw, which this property fits in that category, and it doesn't meet those requirements. So I just share that with you, and you can proceed as you wish.
Thank you, Chair. And we do acknowledge that the driveway is wider than what the bylaw allows for. And we do acknowledge that the city plan is to reduce the parking surfaces as not to overpower the neighborhood. However, in this instance, in this neighborhood, these wide driveways have existed for decades. This is not a new addition. This is not something that has recently developed. The property beside, again, the picture that's being shown, the boulevard section, the city's own property, is paved right up to the property line. The majority of these properties, as I mentioned, have a driveway that is sufficient to fit 2 vehicles wide. And in fact, the 1.2 meter space that is paved over the side of the house, the green space that is alleged to have been taken up, there is no reasonable expectation of anything growing there. It would be a walkway because you can see the recycling bin there. Behind that is a gate to access the backyard. So there would be paving stones or gravel. It would not be greenery, it would not be turf because turf would not grow there. We propose and suggest that in fact that the way that it is done is actually more aesthetically pleasing in the sense that it is finished, it does not create mud. As you can see, the neighbor's driveway is 3 different types of surface. And while we understand that the purpose of the bylaw is to avoid these large surface parking areas, we also would like to point out that this is a unique area. Port Weller has a special parking provision because of the parking issues. If all these neighborhoods in the city's own report, they use the GIS picture, which we submitted as well, and you can clearly see that 2 vehicles wide are possible. They are parked there currently, and that is also for every other house in that. By allowing these individuals to park double wide, we are reducing street parking. Otherwise, you would instantly double the amount of vehicles that are parked on the road. I suggest that a bylaw is a blunt instrument. It is applied to a large geographic region. The point of a committee for variance is to be more surgical. In this particular neighborhood, in this particular area, the variance works. It is consistent with the streetscape. Nothing changes in that regard. And realistically, all that would change is that if the homeowner was forced to remove that, it would be just gravel there. And aesthetically speaking, this is much better looking than just loose gravel.
If I may just get some clarification. So when things happen in succession rather than being packaged together, I don't remember when these are 2 new buildings. I don't remember if this was previously 1 lot that was subdivided and there were minor variances to make the lots narrower than it really should be. And now we're here, however many months or years later, that the narrow lot doesn't support the wide driveway. So now we're looking at the driveway. Does staff have any background as to whether or not when these properties were created, whether they met the zoning bylaw for width?
Through the chair, so the building permit for this property was issued in 2013. That's when the current zoning bylaw was in place. At the time, the property met the zoning bylaw because this property has only 1 legal parking space, which is located in the garage. The driveway length that is also shown on the site plan is 4.62, which does not meet the parking dimension of the parking space. So at the time when the building permit was issued, 1 parking space was provided, which is located in the garage. So the point of this driveway is to provide access to the legal parking space that is located in the garage. So the widening of this driveway does not provide 1 or 2 more parking spaces because it's not, there's dimension-wise, there's no space for parking space. Sorry.
So I think what you're suggesting is that the site plan that was approved for building permit does not reflect the driveway that was built.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, that kind of answers my question. we're gonna field a few questions from staff, committee members just to see how things are going. Tom?
I have a couple questions. The first through you to the agent. Given what planning staff just said, I don't have it in front of me, perhaps it's available, but in one of the packages we received, we saw the original site plan. And so I don't know which came first, the buildings next to it. But irrespective of the neighboring properties, what I'm more concerned about is the timeline. So I don't know, like you said, Chair, if this came before the committee for any variances to create this property, but the approved site plan, whether it came through a building permit or this committee showed the driveway width basically being the width of the garage door opening. So why was it built with the garage, or with the driveway built wider than the site plan showed?
You're welcome to answer. Convenience.
I don't have an answer to that, why it was built wider. I can tell you that this was originally, from my understanding, was one lot, and it was subdivided. There was 3 homes built, and then there was another home to the west that's not in this picture that was built separately. So these 3 were built by the builder at the same time. Our understanding is that it was the builder who provided the driveways as part of the purchase, because it was almost like a custom home. So it was like that from the very beginning. In terms of the length of the driveway not being usable for parking, I'd like to point out that that was never brought to, as part of the order when the complaint came in. The bylaw officer came in and only spoke about the width, not about the length of parking. I understand that the rules say that it's only 4.5 meters and needs to be 5.1, but in essence, if that is to be implicated, again, looking at the city's own ArcGIS drawing, there is going to be half a dozen cars just from these 3 houses that are going to be parked on the road. These garages are not wide enough to fit a pickup truck in. They're not wide enough to fit on any large vehicle or any large SUV. In essence, you're preventing people from using their own space by claiming that they can't park on what is clearly a useful parking area.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
My summary is it was just a hell of a lot more convenient to put in a wider driveway so you could park 2 cars side by side than it is to ask someone to move the car out of the way to get the other car out. And the indication is that this is not built as was shown on the building permit.
A second question through you to staff. So I wasn't sure the timeline of these builds. I'm less concerned about the parking. My answer to not being able to fit a truck in there would be build a bigger house on a lot that could fit the house. But I'm more concerned if we're going to be approving existing conditions that are different than what was approved in the building permit, understanding how we got there. So through the chair to staff, the other newer houses in the immediate vicinity here, is there anything that's legal non-conforming to the existing bylaw with the parking width or the driveway width in question?
Through the chair, you're speaking only to the neighboring properties, or are you all speaking to this property?
I don't know the age of some of the dirt driveways further down the street. I think we've all driven down the street or looked on Google Earth, but just the 3 that were clearly built somewhat recently, if any of them were built within conformance of a bylaw at some point, or if we're looking at all of these properties that are potentially offside to the bylaw.
So through the chair, this application is only dealing with one property, and that is all that is before us. So we didn't analyze or look into the history on the other properties. They're simply not subject to this application, and we can't approve or deny or consider the conditions on those lots. So I don't have that answer, but I will note that this street, or at least this side of the street, has no curb, which means there's no curb cut requirements. So there can be widening of driveways outside of the rules without coming to the city because they don't need a curb cut. So I can't say whether they're legal non-conforming or illegal, but it is possible to make them wider without asking the city.
Okay, understanding that, and that at least the 3 adjacent properties are pretty much similar, how did we get here for this application only? Just out of curiosity.
I'm going to guess before planning answers. If you do something outside the zoning bylaw and it's complained upon and reported or doesn't match the building permit, they're probably being told to tear it up and make it right, whereas the applicant has the opportunity to come here and ask for a variance and not have to do that and see how we go. But if there's a different answer, from planning.
Well, the agent already said that it came as a result of complaint.
Okay, applicant.
This comes out of our understanding, this comes out of a neighborhood dispute. There was an individual that lives around the corner that had a penchant of filing complaints amongst their neighbors. And for whatever reason, he targeted this particular house and none of the other neighbors. And just one last thing is that in our submissions, we did provide letters with signatures with pretty much the entire street supporting this because, in essence, they all face the same thing, right? And I'm not sure how it's going to unfold if one person can't do it, how others are going to be. So whether the committee is going to be inundated with applications or I'm just not sure how that's going to unfold.
Thank you. Tom, you good? Any other member wish to speak to this application? Okay. Then a motion, please, David.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A6324.
Sorry, David. I may have forgotten to ask if there's anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to this application. Now that I have, and there isn't, thank you. Sorry.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A6324, as presented in the notice of hearing, be approved, as the variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
So for clarification, your motion is not in support of what staff has recommended. All those in favor of the motion to approve the application, show of hands right now. You guys finished talking?
I think we're just helping the new guy.
Okay. We're helping the new guy. So the motion has been read in to approve the application. So all those in favor to approve the application, show of hands. All those opposed, little old me. So your application has been approved. Our next application is for 2931 Main Street, consent and minor variances. Come on down. So we have staff report, which suggests a number of conditions that they would like to see to support the severances. We have a staff report which also shares their opinion on the variances. I won't be specific, but some they recommend for approval, some they recommend for denial. That'll all be in the report that you have before you, and I'm sure you'll take this opportunity to speak to those right now. So. Isn't it obvious, the little guy in the bottom there? No. To the right. The little talky guy. It's perfect.
Thank you. Good evening, committee members, Mr. Chair. My name is Eric Beauregard. I'm a planning coordinator at Upper Canada Consultants, located at 30 Hanover Drive in St. Catharines. And with me is Joe Tomeno, senior planner from Upper Canada Consultants. And we like to provide a brief presentation in regards to the applications before you. This is in regards to 29 and 31 Main Street in Port Dalhousie. Go to the next slide, please. The subject lands include the entirety of 31 Main Street. The property is 573 meters squared, has 17.44 meters of frontage on Main Street. The lands are rectangular parcels surrounded by a mix of land uses, being low and medium residential uses and commercial uses. Under the city's official plan, the property is designated as low-density residential. The official plan permits a range of dwelling types in low-density residential area, including detached, semi-detached duplex, triplex, quadruplex, fourplex, and townhouse dwellings. The OP also generally encourages the provision of full range of housing types within residential areas in order to accommodate projected growth and to provide housing options that reflects the range of individual need, and especially in areas where infrastructure and services already exist. The property is zoned as R2-7. The R2-7 zoning permits and regulates a range of residential types similar to those listed in the official plan, including detached dwellings. The special provision 7 limits the maximum height of buildings in the Port Duluth area to 9 meters. Next slide, please. So on this slide shows the proposed development. It's for the creation of one new lot for a single detached dwelling, shown in light red. The remnant parcel, shown in light purple, will remain, but the portion of the dwelling sticking out in the driveway will be removed. An access easement is proposed. It's shown in blue here and is dashed. That's an access easement for both parcels. In the rear yard, a semi-detached accessory structure, garage office, is proposed over both parcels. The existing sheds are proposed to be removed to facilitate the severance and the accessory structure. Before the committee are the consent application, and then there are several requested variances. Here on this slide are the variances that are being requested and tonight. My following slides will address these variances. Some of them are in particular to the creation of the lot and the dwelling, and then others are more particular to the accessory structure. Next slide, please. This slide shows the requested variances as they pertain to the consent and the proposed dwelling, and also pertains to the existing dwelling on the remnant parcel. Next slide, please. So our rationale for the variances, those requested variances: the lot shape and size is consistent with the lot fabric of the neighborhood. The proposed dwelling can function on the proposed lot, i.e. accommodate drainage and access. The site has adequate area to accommodate a dwelling, accessory structure, and amenity area. The proposed setbacks result in a streetscape consistent with the Port Dalhousie neighborhood, being close to the front line and having a front porch as a main entrance to the dwelling. Adequate space is provided for drainage along the northerly interior side yard of the dwelling. There is no privacy impact on the commercial use abutting the proposed lot. We agree with staff's analysis and recommendation to approve these variances, facilitating the creation of the lot and the proposed detached dwelling. Next slide, please. This slide shows the requested variances, and they relate particularly to the accessory structure, the landscape space, as well as the parking coverage and lot coverage. Next slide, please. Our rationale for the variances are as such: the accessory structure is subordinate to the principal dwelling. It's physically shorter and is in the rear yard, making it subordinate from a streetscape perspective. In the report, there was mentioned that it's slightly less than 9 meters, but the height of an accessory structure compared to a principal dwelling is taken differently. An accessory structure is from grade to peak of roof, whereas the principal dwelling is from grade to mid-roof in the context of the proposed dwelling. And so in reality, the physical height of the proposed dwelling is higher than the accessory structure. There are no windows facing the neighborhood properties, resulting in no impacts on privacy. The accessory structure also acts as a buffer from the neighbor at 40 Canal Street, which is located in the rear yard of 31 Main Street, which has amenity areas that view onto the subject lands. The proposal includes adequate landscape space for soft landscaping and beautification in the front and in the rear. There's adequate separation between the proposed accessory structure and dwelling to accommodate a private amenity area, which is demonstrated on the severance sketch, for occupants of the dwelling. The accessory structure can fit a vehicle in both of the garages and would provide adequate space for storage of materials. In regards to setbacks, there is the The materials used for the accessory structure is mostly made up of hardy board, and it is a low-maintenance material. The structure can accommodate drainage swales. The site can accommodate drainage swales, and the accessory building is in line with neighbors at 9 Simcoe Street's shed, as demonstrated on the severance sketch. So there should be a limited impact to their rear yard amenity area. And as I stated, their required parking is provided in the garages. We recommend, so these are the variances that staff did not recommend approval for. They recommended a denial. It's our opinion that these requested variances do meet the 4 tests of the Planning Act, and that these requested variances should be approved. Next slide, please. So I would like to, nope, sorry, the other slide. My apologies. So these are the neighboring lands. This is showing 31 Main Street from the street. And if you look directly to the rear yard of 31 Main Street, you'll see 40 Canal Street's property. And there you can notice there is a rooftop terrace and a balcony on the 2nd story that views into the rear yard of the subject lands. The proposed accessory structure would in fact actually act as a buffer to that privacy area and provide privacy for the occupants of the dwelling. If you look to the photo on to the right, that is the property of 9 Simcoe Street. There's a shed there, and there's also a fence, board-on-board fencing that provides and assists in privacy. And that shed, built on the lot line, it looks like there was an addition of some sort that was done on it. But again, the accessory structure would be in line, the proposed accessory structure would be in line with that shed. And so the amenity space, which you can kind of see on that photo, would remain. And it shouldn't result in an impact on the amenity area of the property owner at 9 Simcoe Street. Next slide, please. Before I end the presentation, I would like to just make a comment that, and it was addressed in the report, that this application, the lot creation and the proposed accessory structure and proposed dwelling, these all were before the Heritage Committee. We did receive Heritage approval. The Heritage Committee reviewed the application in full and considered the characteristics of the proposal and how it fits within the Port Dalhousie neighborhood. And there was unanimous approval of the application, and there were no concerns raised at that committee meeting for the accessory structure. So that ends my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I believe my colleague would like to make some further comments.
I did. I thought you were going to leave out the part about the Heritage approval granted in December, but he brought it up at the end. I reviewed those minutes in detail, and the committee at length, I have the report here, or the minutes of that meeting, considered the siting of the accessory dwelling and the streetscape. So all those issues were dealt with the Heritage Committee, and they felt that this site and proposal fit in with the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Since I'm the chair, I have the first question. In the elevations that were included in the package, despite the fact that the measurement to the accessory, for the detached accessory, is the ridge of the roof, that did include a midpoint height of the roof if it were not considered an accessory, and even at then it's 7.78 meters. So so at the midpoint height, it's still 1.78 meters taller than the maximum height of accessory. So I'm not sure what the intent was of showing the midpoint height, because it's actually measured to the ridge, right?
Sorry, the height, For the measurement of the height, it is shown to the peak of roof. I believe we initially showed to the mid-roof with the assumption that's how it was initially supposed to be calculated to, but then we made the correction to make it to the peak of the roof. And just while we're on looking at the elevation, you'll see that there is a sort of a cupola or like an ornamental feature, although it doesn't constitute necessarily an ornamental feature in the bylaw. It is certainly an architectural feature that really extends the height of the accessory structure.
Well, I see transom windows, which, so that implies that there's a cathedral ceiling or something intended for this space? On the second floor?
The second floor is offices and a two powder room. It's shown on the floor plans.
Okay, I'm just suggesting that the building is taller than it should be, but it also looks as though the ceiling height in there is above the 6 meter maximum height, because the transom windows seem to suggest it's an open frame space up there.
The architect's in here, I can let him answer it, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, I'm satisfied I'm seeing it correctly, it's
Okay.
fine. Thanks.
Okay.
So other committee members, questions, Tom?
Yeah, I just had a question about the numbers proposed in the variances and the numbers that are shown on that site plan. They don't all seem to match necessarily.
Is staff satisfied that is staff just rounding up numbers? So there's, in the staff report, there is the page which has the matrix of variances required and proposed. Is that where you're seeing the discrepancy?
Yeah, like 1.4, it's 1.42, so it's 0.59, I think, on the interior side yard. Requested is 0.61.
I'm assuming, well, I'll let staff comment. Is there a staff rounding up to allow for a margin of error during construction with respect to the numbers proposed?
To the chair, the applicant applied for those variances and were evaluated accordingly.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I could speak.
Yes.
I could speak to that. So we did request for those variances, and essentially, as you mentioned, it's really just to provide some flexibility in the event of construction or, the severance sketch is exactly what it is. It's a sketch. When we go in and get deposited a reference plan and the surveyor goes out there, the lots may be a little different, and this just provides some flexibility in the event that that's the case.
Okay, it's wiggle room.
All right. And then, I guess out of curiosity, when you sever a property, does the existing setbacks also need to meet the current bylaw, or they still retain their legal non-conforming status?
My understanding is they have to satisfy the current zoning bylaw. However, there are smarter people than me here.
Through the chair to the committee member, when a severance occurs, any setback that's changed by the placement of the new severance line would have to meet our current zoning bylaw or obtain a variance. Any setbacks that are existing, they aren't being changed. They aren't required to receive a variance to keep the house in that location, any existing building.
Any other committee member wish to speak? Dave?
We have a letter from a resident who makes reference to the fact that one of the accessory dwelling units would have office spaces. Is that as well as?
That's what I heard.
As well as living area?
To the applicant?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the committee member, there's no accessory dwelling unit proposed. There's no dwelling that's proposed in the accessory structure. It is strictly an office and garage. So it's just an accessory structure. It's not an ADU.
Any other questions from the members of the committee? If not, I will open it up to people in the gallery. Surely you're all here to speak to something, but not this one. Okay? This is if you want to. Nope. Back to the committee. If nothing more, I think we'll have someone.
Just out of curiosity, is there an elevation of the accessory structure at all available? I didn't see that.
There is in the, well, I can see one here that was in the circulation, but I can't get it on the screen.
Mr. Chair, am I able to provide?
There, oh, yep, right there.
That's the principal dwelling.
Sorry, right. While we're reviewing the drawings, is there an expectation that there will be plumbing facilities in here that will accommodate any future conversion to more regular residential occupancy?
There's a two-piece bathroom proposed for the office space.
And that was the time I was buying. For any further comments from the committee member? If not, we'll have a motion proposed, please. Thank you, David.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move the consent application B04 and 0525SC and variances 1 and 4 of A0825 and 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 of variance A0925 be approved subject to the conditions outlined in the technical report as the consent is desirable and compatible for the surrounding area, has no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, has regard for the provisions of Section 5124 of the Planning Act, conforms with the policies of the city's official plan, and with conditions fulfilled will also comply with the zoning bylaw, maintains the intent and purpose of the provincial planning statement, and does not conflict with any applicable provincial plans, and the variances identified are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw. And variances 2 and 3 of application A0825 and 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of application A0925 be denied, as the variances are not minor in nature nor appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, nor in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
So for clarification, your motion is in support of exactly what staff's report's recommending. Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Neutral. Do we have neutral? Is that an option? We'll find out.
You have to make a decision.
Okay. So we'll do a little reset here. So the motion was made in support. There's no conflict of interest or anything, right? No. Okay, well, then loosen up. We can do this. So the motion was made in support of staff report, which includes the denial of the variances that roughly relate to coverage and height. So the property still gets severed. A building can be built, but has to meet those requirements. So we'll do another vote. So all those in favor of that support of the motion, so we are now 3. Those opposed? Those opposed? Did you vote? I did vote. Those in favor? Yeah. 4. Those opposed? 1. Thank you.
To the motion as presented.
Yep. So your application's been denied, but not unanimously. So it was a 4-1. 4. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That is 4. The application has been approved as per staff recommendation.
Yes.
You like that?
Yes.
By 4 of us and denied by 1 of us.
So it's approved with the variances outlined in the technical report, and the variances denied in the technical report were.
Yeah, they understand.
Yeah, I just wanted.
Okay, thank you. You can read it all
And
later.
to confirm the consent as well.
Pardon?
The consent is.
Yes, yeah. All right, thank you. That was a busy one.
It's a bit confusing.
Yeah, we got there. Yeah, we're gonna take only 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes. But we are recessed. Class is back in session. All right, and that means we're gonna fly over to 51 Hayner Avenue, where we have a consent application, which the staff report recommends 11 conditions. This is to facilitate the construction of a proposed semi-detached dwelling with 2 interior accessory dwelling units. Very common these days. So thank you for joining us. If you'd like to turn your mic on. Second chance, not bad. Name, address, and any comments to support your application.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Fisher. I'm the agent for the applicant. My address is 12 Vivian Avenue here in St. Catharines. Through you, Mr. Chair, we are in receipt of the staff report, and there are 11 conditions, and we have no comments or questions on what we received.
Great. Let's see if there's any questions for you. Any questions for the applicant from committee members? Anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to this application, 51 Hayner Avenue? Huh. Hayner.
Should be necessary. There must be a thing.
Oh, over there's Haynes.
I thought there was somebody that was interested.
Well, I'm gonna go. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to the application at 51 Haynes Avenue? What's going on out there? All right, so we have determined that there are no one, there is, okay. Good. Well, we have your comments, but if you wish to speak to it in a more official capacity, you'll have to come up here, sit at the head of the horseshoe, turn on your mic, and commit to your name and address and everything else. But we're friendly people. Okay, so anything you submitted, we would have received as be part of our consideration. Shy. So coming back to the committee, Carrie. Is everyone else satisfied? Any questions? No? Motion away. Don't screw this up.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that consent application B 725 as presented in the notice of hearing be approved as the condition, complete with the 11 conditions. As they are desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, have no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, have regard for section 5124 of the Planning Act, conform with the policies of the city's official plan and zoning bylaw, and maintain the intent and purpose of the provincial planning statement, and does not conflict with any applicable provincial plans.
Your application's been approved unanimously, thank you. For Reed Road. This is a minor variance application to facilitate the construction of a proposed farm help house. One minor variance with respect to minimum lot area for an agricultural farm where one help house is permitted.
Hi, my name is Rob Bentz. I'm a co-owner of PGN's Farms, and we are the leaseholders of the property that is being talked about.
And you read the staff report and saw that staff are recommending approval of your submission?
Yes, I have seen it, yeah.
Anything else you wish to add?
I don't, no.
Okay. Any questions from the members of the committee for the applicant? Anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak this application? Of the three of you, no one wants to speak this application? Okay, great. We can move right into a motion. I mean, I would think that the new guy could pull this one off, but you want to try one? Next one. All right, this is pretty slam dunk, but okay. Okay, so anybody else? Carrie, thank you.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentations, I move that variance application A 1325 as presented in notice of hearing be approved as the variance is minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and is in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
All those in favor of that motion? Boom. Congratulations, your application's been approved.
Thank you to the chair and the committee and the staff.
Feels to me like we're at the last item on the agenda, and that is for 222 Niagara Street. And at 222 Niagara Street, there is a severance application. A number of conditions are proposed. Staff is recommending approval, and as soon as you're comfortable, we would like to know your particulars and anything you wish to add.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and committee members and staff. My name is Dylan, and I'm here for the application on 222 Niagara Street for a boundary adjustment in the backyard.
So you saw staff's report. They're recommending approval, but they have some conditions for the severance. Oftentimes, people want to complain about at least one of the conditions, but you're okay with all 7?
I did want to request reconsideration on the road widening on Facer. So because we're allocating the backyard of 222 Niagara to 13 Facer, the front yard of 13 Facer's going to be impacted. I understand that's a typical request, but given the nature of the application being just a boundary adjustment to facilitate future development infill, my hope is that could be considered at a later date. I just want to make sure that no major variance implications are going to be required now with a reduced front yard on 13 Facer, where my focus right now is that backyard.
With that request, are there any questions or clarifications required? And this is to not have to provide a road widening for the remnant parcel.
Through the chair, that's correct. I do have some visuals. We don't have to go through the whole slideshow, but
Well, if there's a visual which graphically represents what you just said, it might be beneficial. So
That'd be
cue the
great.
visuals, please. And then you can guide us either through the whole thing or the specifics slide.
so through the chair, I guess to the committee, we'll skip through these. This is the site, the front. That's the location with the star. So obviously you can see a pretty large backyard. 13 facer is the odd piece with that back. So part 1 and part 2. So let's keep going here. Yep, you can keep going. Yep, that's the backyard. So obviously, you know, our neighbors, they got the fences there. That's where their rear yards end as well. Keep going, keep going. Those are, yeah, keep going, keep going. That's just a 3D visual. Keep going, yep, keep going, keep going. Here's the rationale. This is just concept, very preliminary, but it just shows, you know, through infill, we could use that back area. Who knows what the future holds, but I'll go through that process when the time comes. But you can see at the front on facer at the bottom, you know, whatever's going to be imposed at that time of that application we'll deal with. But for today, I'm hoping we can just focus on the 222 Niagara at the top there. So keep going. Next, next, next. Next, next, next. We obviously agree with the technical report from the boundary adjustment point of view. Keep going. This is the request for that 1.6 meter widening. Next. This is Facer Street, so you see everybody is consistent all the way down from Vine to whatever's on the far right, so keep going. And there's us, keep going. Again. Drew some lines. Next. Oh, both sides. Both sides is consistent. No one has any widening. Next. Here's us. Next. So we're currently at 4.5. Next. 1.6 would bring our 4.5 to under 3. Next. Leaving 2.9. Next. And minimum's 3. So I wasn't sure what would be required there, so I'm just not trying to make too much work out of the application. So next, next, and that's it.
So can we just go back to the graphic which showed the road widening and the 2.9 meters that would remain from the, yeah. This is just kind of telling your story. And your concern is that the road widening request is across both, or this frontage, and you're concerned about it causing future discomfort?
Or current, or through the chair, I'm just not sure if I have to meet a 3 meter front yard setback, this is gonna put me into non-conformance.
Well, it's not part of this application. So does staff have any comments on the concern of the applicant?
To the chair, we have a section in the zoning bylaw that speaks to lots reduced by public acquisition, and where we take, that would include a road widening, and that a setback reduced to an existing structure wouldn't cause non-compliance. That's written into the bylaw, so that's why this wasn't identified as a variance. Now, I'm not sure, I believe we were of the understanding this may have been a duplex rather than a triplex, so I'm not sure that there is an applicable front yard setback unless you are, I think there might be other things at play in terms of this building. And in any case, it's not necessary as part of this application or as a result of the road widening.
Yeah, through the chair, it is a duplex. I think I just circled the top one of our zoning.
So what we heard is any boundary, taking away property, if the city is responsible for taking away property that puts an existing dwelling in non-conformance, it does not impact the existing dwelling, in short-ish.
That is essentially what it says.
all right.
Yes. There's a few more words in the bylaw, but there is no need to get a
rid of the
variance to allow this to happen.
All right, so any questions from the members of the committee?
if we were to remove it and the development were to come forward and want variances, can you add the road widening to condition to a variance, or can it only be added to a consent?
I think the answer is only to a consent, but
Yes, it is only to a consent in terms of applications to the committee. If there was a site plan in the future, it could be taken then. This is the application we have in front of us now.
so as we know, the city, when they recognize that there is a existing roadway that does not meet its minimum width requirements, it is a piecemeal approach to grab road widening, which we know does not necessarily mean road. It can mean sidewalks, boulevards, services, that sort of thing. So this might be one of the early opportunities that they can on this road, which speaks, to why the applicant was trying to show that the consistency of road frontage. But either way, I think we just heard that the applicant's concern about that is not going to manifest itself into a problem. Right at the front, just so prevent any fist fights from breaking out. I saw you talking back there. It's very friendly. You have one chance to get this right. All right. Name, address, and comments.
Okay, so my name is Stephen Riddell, and I live at 47 Curry Street. So
Move back to the point in the slideshow where we show the entire context. Right there is fine.
Okay, so on the corner of Facer and Curry Street, to the right of that star, there's a church. Next small one.
Right there.
Right there.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we've lived there 33 years, so we know who owns that land since 1929, and then how many times it's been flipped. Our concern is, we're not against this taking from 222 and adding it to that main package. My wife and I, our concern is, once that's added, obviously that section is the longest section of that property. And we would like to know, they're obviously separating it for a reason. And we would like to know what is going to be built there.
Okay, so this is certainly, you call this lot assembly to, and they didn't even hide a proposed idea, but it's only a proposed idea. So yes, something's going to happen. The idea of doing this is to allow for something to happen.
Yes.
And something that's going to happen is not what we have before us. That'll be a future thing, and that future procedure will have that future development have to respond to the zoning bylaws for interior side yard separations, which might be what applies here. So as the applicant suggested, there is no specific development.
But he had pictures, though.
Right, well, we can go to that, but it's just, it was a totally proposed idea. It's not anything that the staff has approved, but can we back up to what that, this is kind of not fair, but since you showed it, okay, right here.
Right there.
So in this case, your property happens to be at a hammerhead turnaround for a roadway. This is not a proposal. Your neighbor and the church in this dream have a building in back of it, and there's parking and so on. So this just tells you that yes, in the future, somebody has probably enough room to put a road in there, and somebody probably has enough room to build townhouses.
Yep,
but this is not a proposal that we're looking at this evening. We're just creating the land assembly, which will probably allow this to happen.
Okay, so obviously there's townhouses on the front of Facer Street. There's also a long row of
Could be.
townhouses on the left, which would back onto the people on Niagara Street.
Could be.
And is that also like possible townhouses that would back onto my neighbor and myself?
Again, the cursor, the little arrow is where you just identified your house to be, correct? Can you jiggle it, please? Right there?
Yes, yeah.
So in this case, a fire truck or garbage truck would have to be able to have a turnaround.
Yep.
So at the end of all of this, there's a hammerhead turnaround, and in this case example, there is that driveway opposite the back
Yep.
property line, but,
Okay. Now,
so.
is there also a restriction to height for any of these places?
Yes,
Because
the zoning bylaw is a lovely read. It's available to you online, the City of St. Catharines website. You can download it. What you do is you go to a map and find the zone for where your property is. It'll probably be the same as this property, and then that'll take you to a point where it tells you all of the parameters that would regulate the size of these buildings. But again, this is just
Yep, just,
an example, okay?
Okay.
So at this point, we are considering the severance only to combine properties. Do you have any comments with respect to that?
no, no, no.
Okay.
No objection.
Great, thank you for your contribution. To the applicant?
Through the chair to the member of the public, I'll make sure I share our plans with you as I work through them. This is just step one to see what we're working with.
Great, great. You're welcome to sit there at the end of the meeting. Any questions from the members of the committee?
Through you to staff, just now that this is back on the screen, I was focused on the existing dwelling. How does that work again with the road widening for any new development? I guess the previous lot boundaries before the road widening would apply? If you want, once they dedicate the land to the city for road widening, if that happens, and it showed the existing dwelling being 2.9, the bylaw was 3, would any new build, once that building is demolished, have to then meet the setback from the road widening lot line?
I bet the answer is yes.
Through the chair, yes.
Any other questions from members of the committee? Otherwise, a motion would be appreciated. We can get outside and enjoy what's left of this lovely evening.
Following consideration of all written and oral presentation, I move the consent application B0825SC and variance application A1425 as presented in the notice of hearing be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in the technical report, as the consent is desirable and compatible with the surrounding area, has no adverse impacts on the surrounding properties, has regard to the provisions of Section 5124 of the Planning Act, conforms with the policies of the city's official plan, and with conditions fulfilled will also comply with the zoning bylaw, maintain the intent and purpose of the provincial planning statement, and does not conflict with any applicable provincial plans. The variances are minor in nature, appropriate and desirable for the use of the land, and are in keeping with the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
All those in favor of the motion, congratulations, your application's been approved.
Thank you.
And I would like to say it's lovely to have made the offer to keep the neighbors informed of the yes, so. Any new business to discuss?
The only business we have is there's just going to be a small change to coming forward for the next hearing. We're going to try to do, to accompany what the motions are like for council. You know how they have them on the screen? They get designated just to show everybody kind of what's being proposed. It'll probably assist our new member in helping to learn the learning curve. So we're going to try it and see how it works out.
Dale Copeland, everybody. Welcome to the team.
Thank you. So have you had a conversation about the primary planning?
Yes.
So if that's it for the new business, the next hearing date is April 16th. Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Recording stopped.